Hey guys, we are here at Whole Foods Market right off of Post Oak, and I heard a rumor that they have $1 oysters every Friday. We're here to see if that rumor is true. Let's go check it out. I saw this deal on one of my friend's Instagram stories, and I knew I had to check it out for myself. Word on the street is that every Friday, Amazon Prime members can get live oysters for just $1 each at participating Whole Foods markets. And even if you're not a Prime member, they're still only $3 a piece. Since this was my first time buying oysters to cook at home, I asked one of the seafood clerks for advice. He pointed out his favorites and even gave me a quick demo on how to shuck them, which was super helpful. So if you're new to this, don't be shy. Ask questions. The staff here really knows their stuff and can help you make the right pick. Once we made our selection, they were packed up on ice and we were ready to roll. Next stop, the register. Fully prepared to debunk the myth and see if the deal was real. We have secured the bag. Open your Amazon app, scroll across the top until you see in-store code. Tap that and scan. $24. It works. All right, guys, this rumor is actually true. 24 oysters for $24. As long as you buy in increments of 12, you can buy as little as 3 of each kind, 6 of each kind, so on and so forth. But I actually was told that you can even go to the on-site brewery that they have at the Post Oak location specifically, and you can order oysters from the bar. They will shuck them. You can enjoy a beer, watch the game. Many people in this area do it, and it's such a great option. Such a great little hack too, right? $1 oysters in Houston. Now let's crack into these oysters and see what they taste like. We got a little variety here. We have the Chibuktuk oysters, which are from New Brunswick. It's an East Coast variety, supposed to be a slightly sweeter, nuttier, and salty in flavor. We also got the Great White oyster. These are unshucked because I'm going to do something special with these later. I have plans for these babies. But let's go on in for a taste and see if the Chibuktuk oysters profile matches the description. All right, we're going straight up. No cocktail sauce, no mignonette, no Tabasco. Cheers. I pick up on that nuttiness, the saltiness. It definitely has like an ocean brininess to it. Those are great. Those are great straight up on their own. But I'm gonna go home and make a mignonette sauce, so stay tuned. All right, we are back at the house and I am ready to make a delicious mignonette sauce. This is so simple and easy. What takes the longest is letting it chill in the fridge and letting all of those flavors meld and develop. So let's get started. I've got a shallot here and I'm gonna finely mince 1/2 cup. Now that we have our shallots finely minced, I'm going to add equal parts rice vinegar and white vinegar, 1/4 cup of each. And I'm using a glass bowl because this is non-reactive. Anytime you add acidity into a reactive bowl, it's gonna give it a really bitter and undesirable taste. Now I'm going in with 1/2 teaspoon of sugar and 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt. Now with a heavy bottom container, I'm going to crush some pink peppercorn. And we're just going to add those into the mix. Now that we have all of our ingredients in the bowl, we're just going to give it a stir to combine. And then this is gonna go in the fridge for about an hour to 2 hours, just once again, so that those flavors can kind of meld together and really start to develop. Our sauce has been sitting in the fridge for about 2 hours, but it can last for as long as 3 days. We're gonna put it on one of these oysters and see how it tastes. So this is what the sauce looks like after it has sat for 2 hours. You can see that the sauce has kind of taken on some of the shallot color. It's got a nice little pink shade to it, coming from those pink peppercorns as well. The shallots have swollen because they have absorbed some of that vinegar, sugar, and salt mixture. Cheers. Mmm. Ooh. Yeah, that's really good. I like the little crunch that you get from the shallots. Excuse me, I'm drooling. That vinegar just like really just woke my taste buds up. That's the first thing I've had today. You do get a slight little sweetness from the sugar there. The little bit of salt helps counteract that saltiness and the vinegar. That is really great. I would absolutely reuse that recipe. Now we're gonna make Oysters Rockefeller, and this is so easy and only requires a few ingredients. This is a traditional classic oyster recipe that you can typically find at any seafood place and most steakhouses, but you're gonna get it here at a fraction of the cost. Let's gather some of our ingredients. We're definitely going to need some heavy cream, Parmesan cheese, butter, fresh shallot, lemon, and some washed baby spinach. Okay, now we're going to start by shucking the oysters. So I'm actually using an old pair of kitchen shears. They need to be kitchen shears. Don't use a regular pair of scissors, and these are heavy duty. They actually separate. So this is what I'm using. If you feel more comfortable using an oyster knife, you can absolutely do that. I feel comfortable using these Wüsthof kitchen shears. So as far as the oysters go, this is obviously the front of the oyster. The top, you can see it has a really thin razor sharp shell with some of these jagged edges. So you never want to go in with your bare hand because you're going to tear your hand up and get a lot of cuts. So we're going to go in with a kitchen towel momentarily. Where we're shucking is on the back side of the oyster here. So let's get a kitchen towel and make sure you get a really good grip on this. Go in with your kitchen shears, go in from the back, lift up, and pop the top right open. And this part right here, this is the foot of the oyster. See how it's kind of stuck to that shell? That's gonna make eating a bit more difficult. So I'm gonna go in with the other kitchen shear, and I'm going to release that foot, which is right here. And I'm going in with the other kitchen shear just to make sure that I don't have any sand or dirt or shell fragments, anything like that. That's not gonna be a fun bite for your Oyster Rockefeller. You want to start by finely chopping shallots. And I'm using shallots because number one, that's a more traditional classic ingredient in Oysters Rockefeller. Number two, it's a more mild, sweeter flavor than say a yellow, white, or red onion. So we're gonna saute our finely chopped shallots or minced shallots in a little bit of unsalted butter. I'm going in with 4 tablespoons, so half a stick of butter. Ooh, I don't know about you guys, but I cry so easily anytime I'm cutting onions, whether it's yellow, white, or red, shallots, sometimes even green onion. I'm kind of a baby. But working in kitchens all of my life, the guys have always told me that if you cry when you're cutting onions, it means you're a jealous person. Do you guys think that makes any sense? I mean, I am a jealous person, so they're not entirely wrong, but comment down below what you think. If you're a jealous person and if crying actually means that you're a jealous person. Also, kind of side note, I was told, and it actually worked for me, that if you ever get anything spicy in your eye, like one time I was cutting jalapenos and I stupidly wiped underneath my eyes were on fire. They were burning like you would not believe. And I was told to go grab a Latina's hair, like her ponytail, and rub it on my eyes and the burning would stop. I didn't believe it, but out of pure desperation, I tried it, and it actually worked. Have you ever tried it before? Would you ever try it? Let me know. So I've got some butter melting in my pan here, and I'm going to add in the finely minced shallots. And we just want to soften these. We really don't want to brown them. We don't want them to receive any kind of color. We just want them to be soft, tender, and translucent. It already smells so good. And we're gonna let these cook down or sweat for about 3 to 5 minutes and just keeping an eye on it. I've got the stove top at a medium-high heat, but if you notice that your shallots are starting to get a little color, just turn your heat down. So many recipes at this point will tell you that it's time to add in your fresh spinach and allow it to wilt down. But in my opinion, I think we should add the spinach later because number one, it's going to mess up the color. This is a vibrant green spinach, which is going to be beautiful. After it wilts down here and bakes in the oven for an additional 10 to 15 minutes, it's going to be pretty brown and not as visually appealing. Number two, it's not going to have as much flavor. So instead, I'm going to add in the heavy cream. This will allow it more time to reduce, thicken up, and then we can add the spinach. Spinach is about 90% water, so once it wilts, it's gonna extrude that water, and it's gonna thin out the sauce just a little bit. So let's go in with half a cup of heavy cream. And to this, I'm going to add in the Parmesan cheese. I'm going in with about half a cup. This is gonna give it that salty bite. It's also going to help thicken that cream. We just want to keep an eye on it, and once it coats the back of the spatula, that's when we know it is go time for the spinach. So at this point, you can see that the heavy cream and Parmesan cheese have started to slightly thicken just by how quickly it fills that line that I'm drawing in the pan. So it still needs to reduce down. I can still see little chunks of Parmesan cheese in here, but I'm just telling you for all intents and camera purposes here, how quickly this is actually coming together. This isn't really something that you can start and walk away from. You might be able to break away to maybe clean some dishes as you go. That way you're not stuck with a pile of dishes at the end of your meal. That's never fun. Ooh, this is looking good.
Now, if you have an intruder that breaks in right now, be sure to throw that hot molten cheese.
This is great. Or like an annoying husband or something that won't go away. When's dinner gonna be ready? When's dinner gonna be ready? You can just grab a little bit of this and hi-ya, flick it at them. They'll get out real quick and they'll leave you alone.
Or just give them a sample.
You could give them a sample, but you're probably busy doing other things and don't have time for that. Okay, so now we're just about ready. You can see the cheese slowly filling in that line that I'm drawing behind the spatula. I lift the spoon up, and if you just draw a line through it, that is how you know it's ready. It sticks to my finger, it sticks to the spatula. This sauce has reduced down, and it's time to add in the spinach. So I'm not gonna add all of this at once. I'm gonna add it in increments and just give that spinach a little bit of time to wilt down. So this is approximately 10 ounces of baby spinach, but you can totally make this recipe your own. If you want more spinach, if you want less, you can adjust that. But 10 ounces is what I'm going with. And just for timing purposes for you guys, it took about 5 to 7 minutes to reduce down that heavy cream with my stovetop set to number 4. So just going with a medium heat here. So now that the spinach has wilted down, I'm gonna add in some more. Something to also keep note is obviously my spinach was in the fridge, so it was cold and it's going into a hot sauce. So it's gonna bring down the temperature of your sauce. So after each addition, you want to give it just a minute to kind of catch back up to its original temperature. So I'm just lifting and kind of moving that cream sauce over the top to help wilt down that spinach. And as you can see, that happened pretty quickly, like 30 seconds to a minute. Once again, you don't want to walk away from this. Now you can tell and see in the pot here that this cream sauce is liberally coating the spinach, but it doesn't look like I have a whole lot of sauce, like liquid there, which is good because I don't want a whole lot on top of the oysters. But as I mentioned before, the spinach is 90% water, so it is going to begin to thin out that sauce and make it a bit more loose for us to put on top of those yummy oysters. See how it's pooling back up from that liquid? I don't want that much liquid, so I'm gonna let it cook down just a minute more, and we're gonna cool it completely before topping our oysters. So now you can really see how much liquid that spinach has let off. but this is the point where I kind of want our sauce because I want to have a good liquid to spinach chunky ratio for the oysters. So the last thing that we have to do is add in a little bit of fresh lemon juice. This is gonna really add some brightness and nice acidity here. So I'm going to roll it just a little bit to release some of those juices, make it a little easier to squeeze. And I'm going to squeeze it into my hand to prevent any kind of seeds from going in. Once again, you don't want any oyster shell, no lemon seeds, no foreign objects in your food. So I'm already kind of catching some of those seeds here. So I'm just using the juice of 1 lemon. This side had a good amount of seeds. I caught like 5. If you have a juicer, you can use that too, whatever your preference is. This is what I have, so this is what I'm going with. You can see that the sauce is a little bit looser. I'm gonna pull it from the heat and put it in the fridge and allow it time to cool completely. This way it doesn't cook our oysters unevenly. If you've got these cold oysters, you've got hot sauce going in on top of that, it's gonna cook them unevenly. And then it's gotta bake for about 10 to 15 minutes to allow that crust to kind of come to action and get golden brown and absolutely delicious. Okay, now we're going to get our oysters ready to put in the oven. I'm using a muffin pan because I want these oysters to stay still. Some of them have a flat bottom, some of them have a rocky, kind of wonky bottom. So for ease of baking, I'm using a muffin tin. So let's go ahead and get our oyster set up, and I can show you how I'm doing it almost like an assembly line style. So it's real fast. Got our oysters here. And see how nicely they stay put? You can certainly use a sheet tray if that's what you have. I would recommend creating little individual rings with maybe some aluminum foil, just so it holds them up so that they're not shaking around. Because once you put the topping in there, you're gonna want it to stay put. You don't want it to shift around and fall out. That kind of defeats the purpose, you know what I mean? So we've got all of our little oysters set up. Ooh. Okay, that guy's gonna stay put. And now we're gonna go in with the Rockefeller sauce. Now that our liquid has cooled, you can see that the consistency has changed slightly, but we still have a good amount of sauce. So even when it bakes in the oven, it'll thicken up slightly, but we're still gonna have a nice juicy bite, which is how I prefer my oysters. I've had them before where they're very dry. And keep in mind, we're gonna add in some breadcrumbs, which will also absorb some of the sauce, but give it a nice textural balance. Anyways, I can't stand a dry oyster Rockefeller. I like mine saucy. So we are going to go in and just begin portioning our sauce over the oysters. So I wanna get a good chunk of spinach, shallot, and sauce for each oyster. And if I have any reserved liquid or leftover liquid at the end, I'm gonna go in and top each oyster. Ooh, that was filled up with a little bit of brine. That's all right. It's gonna be tasty and juicy. This is another reason why I like using a muffin tin, because it's gonna catch anything that falls. It's not gonna be on the sheet tray, kind of baking and crusting up at the end. But once again, use what you have and make it work for you. This recipe is completely versatile. That's gonna be a good one. I do have a little bit of leftover sauce here, but if I had any chicken or steak, shrimp, anything like that, you could absolutely use this as a topper for any kind of protein. Now I'm gonna go in with some breadcrumbs. I prefer using Japanese panko breadcrumbs. These are just a bit more coarse than a traditional, say, Italian breadcrumb. So it's gonna give you some really nice texture there, really nice appearance. And I'm just gonna go in and top each oyster with as much or as little breadcrumb as you desire. Once again, reverting back to that recipe being completely versatile. This is a little bigger, so I'm gonna go in with some more breadcrumbs for him, but the smaller oysters I'll obviously use less. And if you wanted to mix some Parmesan cheese in with the bread topping just for some extra cheesiness, you could do that. But I think I've got a good amount of cheese in that sauce. Some people use bacon in their oyster Rockefeller. I do have a little bit of bacon, so I'll probably add some onto a couple of mine, but not all of them will get it. Also, I'm kind of lazy sometimes, so I'm not like cooking the bacon ahead of time. I really like using bacon bits that we get from Costco, believe it or not. They're really good. They're nice and chunky. They have a great hickory smoke flavor to them, and it's real bacon. It's not like bacon bits or artificial bacon or bacon simulator, whatever. It's none of that. It's real bacon.
That simulated bacon.
Simulated bacon flavor in a different dimension, a different timeline, all that. Just as popular in the real world. Okay, now that these are all topped with the panko breadcrumbs, I'm gonna grab the bacon and top a couple of these off. And if you wanted to, you could mix this in with your sauce too. I didn't want all of the oysters to have bacon. I only wanted a few of them just so we could do a little compare and contrast. But if you want to add it to all of them, I would probably add it in with the shallots just so it gets crispy. Once again, this is gonna go into the oven, so you have to think it's gonna have some additional cook time. So don't get it too crispy that it tastes burnt, but get it crispy that it renders down some of that fat. And you've got good bacon flavor throughout the filling. Into the oven they go for about 10 to 15 minutes at 375 degrees. Ten minutes is up and this kitchen is filled with a beautiful aroma of creaminess. I can smell the cheese, the salt, the bacon. Let's go on in and see how the oysters look. Ooh, these look so good. These look incredible. I'm gonna let them cool just slightly so I don't ruin my taste buds like I did previously. All right, this is what the oysters look like after they have come out of the oven. They are so toasty. They were all bubbly. You saw some of those shots in there. The bacon has gotten really nice and crispy. So even though I removed the foot of the oyster, all of the cheese kind of melted to the side. So I do want to go in and sort of remove that, just loosen it up so I can get a nice big bite of all of that spinach, the cream sauce, breadcrumbs. Oh yeah. Mmm. That crunch. Oh. Fire. You gotta try this. That was so freaking good. I knew it was going to be good. I kind of impressed myself with that recipe. I really love the crunch from that panko breadcrumbs. It makes such a huge difference in your final bite. And I really enjoyed that salty, smoky flavor from the bacon. It was a really nice flavor contrast. But let's go in and see how the oysters without bacon taste. Mmm. That's really good too. Personally, I like the bacon one better, but if you're not a bacon fan, omit it. That one, just as good. Just doesn't have that smoky, meaty bacon flavor. Highly recommend you trying these recipes out. If you do, comment below what you think. What kind of changes did you make, if any at all? Can't wait to hear from you.